to Confronting the Darkness. I'm Rob Jacobs.
And I'm Father Bob Bailey.
And tonight we're going to be speaking about spiritual liberation. I'm going to pass it on to you, Father.
Well, we have been doing this for how many years now?
I would say close to 6 years together.
And over that time, you know, the ministry of liberation has grown, it has developed, it has morphed into what we have now, and it continues to. We learn from all of the different situations we go into.
And there have been a lot of them.
And, you know, some of the things we did work, some of the things we did. So it's a trial and error, because in house liberations, it's still kind of a new thing, right. You know. And so what we have come up with was a ritual. And again, this is a product of experience and then trial and error and seeing what works for us throughout the years. What I'd like to do for us is if we could discuss the whole concept of what we do for the ritual of liberation. Liberation of homes, prayer for the liberation of homes is what we do most of the time, right. I dare say. So it's a process. I know when people call us, and when you get the bulk of the emails, they want us yesterday. But there is a process, and it's very important. And with my Catholic Christian background, we need, you know, it's not just a one-shot deal that we just go in without any preparation and the client just takes a back seat. But there's a whole process of what we do. So I'm going to ask Rob to go over when we do go to, again, we only go to local places around us, but when we do go in for a liberation, before that we have a process which, again, we're sharing with you, because if you're part of the network and you are doing this, this would be of help to you too.
Right. Like Father Bob said, it usually starts off with an email. From there, we send out an email to the person that is reaching out to us for help. And that is to give them instructions on how to prepare for our visit when we come to see them to do the liberation. And the primary focus, of course, is in the liberation is prayer. We also do not allow children to be present during the liberation. It can be very dangerous. And even if something weren't to happen, it's not really a good thing to have them there. Plus, it could be a distraction, just like having animals there or somebody playing games or whatever it may be. It just has to be the people that are directly involved in the liberation really should be the only ones present.
And we've learned that through trial and error. Again, you come in and there's like a whole spectator, a family member, oh, they want to see this, and it does not work. No. Especially people walking all over the house. So. Right. So what do we do now is we ask them to go in one room and to pray, just the immediate family, because it really does get in the way when you have a ton of people.
It does, and we've seen it. Even the animals, you know, the dogs, they can get riled up and start barking, and we can't focus on what needs to be done when that's happening. So it is very important to have just the people that are involved there. And like Father said, we'll usually have them go into another room and do their own prayer as we're setting up the altar and getting ourselves set up for the liberation. And
importantly, like you said, is the most important thing is prayer. So we ask of the clients that they need, if they have truly believed that they're touched by evil, whether in attachment or in the house, then they have to make certain changes in their lives.
Right.
In order for this to, it's not magic. A lot of people think we just go in and it's magic, they don't have to do anything, they can just sit back, and it doesn't work that way. And some people get frustrated,
right.
And then you don't hear back from them when you tell them you need to start, you know, changing your lifestyle if you have not been practicing faith.
Right. We actually just got an email from someone we helped not too long ago saying, you know, it's been 6 months, I stopped doing what I was told to do, and it's back and it's worse. And they're asking for us to come back again. And, you know, obviously we probably will, because, you know, things happen, but it just shows how important it is for them to keep up the maintenance. Usually what we send out in the email, it'll start off letting them know that they should be doing 3 days of prayer prior to us showing up. And that would include the scriptures, Psalm 121. That's one of them. We ask them to do the St. Michael protection prayer. And there are several other prayers that we have here. I'm not going to read them all off here. But that's for 3 days prior. And then come the day that we go for liberation, we also ask that they do a certain regimen of prayer on that day before we get there. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Then when we get in, like we said, we ask them, go into whatever room it may be, because we usually, when we go in, we'll set up in one certain area so we can set up our altar and focus on what's to be done.
And you know, what we're telling you now is what we do, but also we're trying to empower our audience that, you know, liberation over home can also be done by laypersons with faith. And we do have some affiliates who are, you know, who are lay people, who are Christian, and who help because, quite honestly, much of the clergy is, you know, has not been prepared or educated in this area, and for whatever reason, you know, are not into it, or, you know, are skeptical. And there may be several reasons for that. But so what we're telling you, we share with anybody that you can take advantage of this and be an affiliate with us to have all of this information. Again, some of the paranormal groups have warriors, what we call warriors in them, and they know what to do to go in. This I call layperson's blessing. What we're doing over the home does not have to be done by me, a priest. That's one of the things that we've done over the years has been to develop this in such a way that the homeowners or any person with faith can stand on their baptismal dignity, because they do have that dignity. They have that power to, not the same as a priest or a minister, but still they have that power to be able to stand in their baptismal dignity to fight the spiritual battle.
True, and we've been fortunate to have a good number of people in different areas across the United States. I mean, we've got people in New York, we have some people in Virginia, in Connecticut. Unfortunately, we don't have them everywhere, but it would be nice if we were able to get more people involved to do that. But there, you know, and that falls into the same thing where we'll send out the information to them along with a training DVD and get them prepped and ready to be able to do the spiritual liberation themselves, especially in areas that we're not able to get to in order to help people.
And again, part of the preparation is what I've said. You know, we give them this preparation sheet, and basically we tell them, you know, you got to start practicing your faith, whatever it is. If you're Catholic, you need to go back to Mass and the sacraments, receive Holy Communion every week, get back to church, make a good sacrament of confession, make a good confession, and get your faith. Because if not, you know, if you don't have yourself fortified, it could come back again. It's in the scriptures talk about that. If the house is not clean, then the demon may come back and bring a bunch of others with them. So it's scriptural that you need to start forming your life as a life of prayer. And again, you know, there are people who won't go to church, but you know, you've got to make that. If you want this to work, if you've been touched by evil or the presence of evil, then you have to make a decision to live that life of prayer so that you're fortified and your house is fortified. And if you're not Catholic, again, to make a good confession to God with praying Psalm 51, and then go back to your church, whatever church it is. But you need to be in contact of faith with a community of faith, because Jesus never wanted us to go it alone. He formed the church. He formed the 12 apostles, so that you can't just say it's me and God. No, it's me, God, and the community. There's power in numbers. There's power to be part of a Christian community, a prayer community.
Yeah, and that's important too. The faith aspect of it is so vital. We've seen it too. People go and they just think as you come in and do the prayers, that's it, it's over, thank you. And if they don't keep up with the guidelines and the maintenance that Father Bob leaves with them, we end up with emails coming back saying, well, it's still here and this is happening, and
and sometimes it takes truthfully more than one time.
Right.
But again, it's all important that the client, that the person, the homeowner, has an active role in that, because they need to take that personal power, again, to help keep that house fortified. And what I started to do, my newest little venture, is to have what I call spiritual prescriptions. So once we go to the home, if it's someone who's dealing with a house, so here's a house protection, here's a script, if you will,
right,
of what to do in order to keep the process going, and another one for breaking curses and spells, and then I have another one for protection, for attachments. And so these will come in handy to give to the people, and then you out there who do this can also give this to them so that they know what they have to do. And then we give them the prayers to do here. I've broken it up with, to protect yourself against spiritual attack, a simple blessing of a home, to keep that up, and then breaking curses or spells.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because we get so many a variety of emails of different kinds of problems. Like you mentioned about the curses, that we've gotten several where people believe there's either a family curse or something like that, and then there's the other side of it where they think, okay, well, somebody dabbled in something. So it really makes a difference, and I guess they really need to be open and honest about what they have been doing, and when they're, as far as continuing on, to be honest about it, because just going in and doing the prayers, that may remove it, it might lighten it, whatever it may be, but if they don't turn things around and do the maintenance, it will come back. I mean, we've seen that so many times.
And also, to be honest enough to say, is anyone who's being affected, are they taking any kind of medication? Do they have any kind of psychological issues? Some people want this as a aspirin tablet in order to blame everything on the demonic, when there are other things involved and there are psychological issues, and so you don't get the psychological looked at. It's, as Catholic Christians and mainline Christians, we're not fundamentalists. We don't go out there and try to mask everything with the spiritual,
right,
because God works through doctors, He works through medicine, He works through counseling and psychology. So, we can do our part in helping with the spiritual, but the homeowner or the client, whoever is being affected, if they have a neurosis, or if they're on drugs, or if they're whatever, they have some addictions, then they need to go and get that help, or else there's a doorway that will always be there. Mm-hmm. And it is hard, that well. Right. People don't want to accept that. They want to always say it's the spiritual.
Yeah, and we find that quite a bit. I mean, we've dealt in the past with individuals who did have addictions, and not that we're not willing to help, and not that we don't believe that they go hand in hand a lot of the times, but you're talking about two different problems, and both sides have to be addressed. Absolutely.
And very honestly, and anyone out there who does this work have to see that sometimes that's all it is a psychological problem, and it really isn't a spiritual problem. We ran into a case that came from prayer, and 10 minutes into it, we realized there was a struggle in the family, and relationships in the family, and a person who had an addiction, and so and they weren't willing to give that up. They kept making excuses, and finally we couldn't help them.
No, and we spent a long time with them that night.
And another people who were very religious, and we couldn't understand. I mean, they had prayer in their homes, they went to Mass and everything, and they were feeling all this. Well, come to find out, there were some psychological issues with one of them. So much so that an incident happened, they had to go to the hospital. And then finally, I had to say, this is what I felt in the beginning, but I didn't know if you would, I knew you weren't open to hearing that.
Right.
So we have to be honest enough to know when there may not be anything spiritual, because to bring them along with the spiritual is dangerous. Just to say to everyone, okay, yes, it's a demon.
Yeah.
It's doing more harm than good if they're not going to get the help that they need.
I think some of them are in denial. About the reality of what's actually going on, and their backgrounds too. I mean, sometimes that is like the key too, and what their beliefs are, and that this has to be something evil that's doing this, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it just
and some of the ethnic people that they're like Portuguese, or he's Portuguese, I'm part Italian, or Hispanic, that they run right away to that.
Right.
Well, my husband's mean, or he's changed his personality, or he's cheating. It's got to be the devil. Well, no. There's the world, the flesh, and the devil. That's more the flesh than the devil. So it's a lot of education that has to go out there in helping, and patience. Patience, right. But honesty.
And it's important too, because I did say as soon as we get an email out the information to them, but honestly, before that is done, we try to get another email with specifics on what's happening, because that's important to know too, and how long they've been dealing with it, what exactly they've been dealing with. And I always send out prayers beforehand and ask them to start doing these prayers and to let me know, has anything changed, has anything calmed down. And I certainly tell them, do not provoke, because that's important, because if there is something evil there, you don't want to provoke, but to do a protection prayer and stand your ground is okay.
Right.
But not to challenge, I guess, would be important to say.
Yeah, not unless you're willing to get, to go through with it. Right. I mean, we challenge, but we know that if we challenge, it's going to come, it may come at us. And
it does.
And it does at times. And so, but that's what we do.
Right.
And we know about it and we're ready for it. And that's part of the work.
And I think we've told a lot of the affiliates that have wanted to go in this direction too, the warnings, beware, because this is, mostly you're going to find it at one time or another that dealing with this sort of thing, once you start, be prepared, because it'll come from several avenues. You don't know how or when, but it will. And once you start, you can't necessarily just stop, because you may want to stop, but you've already stepped over the line there. So now you're kind of marked, I guess is a good word. So you got to understand that there are repercussions and consequences to anything you do, and
it's marvelously rewarding to know that we're stepping into areas where a lot of people don't dare or don't have the education or the background to do that, or the faith even. It's very rewarding, and it's great work because it's needed. So we highly recommend to those, but it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. And just know that, again, we've said this in other programs, that we go through retaliation. We have to protect ourselves. Yeah. On the way up, I was praying the Divine Mercy Chaplet, for protection, and because we have a liberation tonight together.
In a couple hours.
Yeah. So, so that it's a warning, a sober warning, but again, fighting that good spiritual fight, is better than going to for me, and Rob will attest to this, that you can go to these haunted places, these battleships, these hotels, and that's nice, but are you doing anything?
Right.
Except finding evidence. And, it's fun. I'm the first to admit that. But it only goes so far. And if you're really, interested in the paranormal, then you want to do something to make someone's life better. And that's why we formed the Praesidium Warriors of St. Michael, PWSM, to educate, to go deeper. Is there a spirit in the home? Well, it may not supposed to be there. If it's not at rest, you don't leave it. People go to haunted places. Oh yeah, there's a spirit. Well, has anybody ever helped it? Has anybody ever helped that spirit to cross over, to go? Or do they want to keep it like a circus sideshow?
I think that's what you see in a lot of those attractions.
And that just what are you doing for people's lives? Like I said, there's nothing more rewarding than the cases when you do help them.
Yeah, and we've had several, and it's amazing to see where somebody was and what they've been going through for how long to where they are now, and how things have changed for the better. It can be amazing. But the other side, and I'm not saying this about everyone, but I hear it's a calling. And sometimes I think that's a crutch, like it's not so much a calling. I mean, I may have a calling to be a pilot, but if I hopped in a plane, I'd crash it, I don't have the knowledge for it. So it's dangerous. You may feel something like that, but it doesn't necessarily mean you should be doing something like that unless you're prepared and, you really get knowledge and protected.
In a sense, it is a calling, but it's something that you have to think about.
Yeah.
It's because, like I said, not everybody's, like you said, not everybody's involved and not everybody's equipped to do that. It's a reality check that you have to do to see if it's that calling, or like I still have friends that say, "Oh, we want to come on a case with you, and we want to see this." No, you don't. Are you willing to put up with what we put up afterwards with the retaliation before and after? If something appeared in front of you, you're going to run. Oh, no, I wouldn't. Yes, you would. Trust me, you would. So.
Well, we've been in some situations that have been pretty darn
scary. Scary, yeah.
Definitely. And then, it's funny because one of the worst ones, I think, was very low-key, other than the person themselves that we were dealing with. I mean, you never know. You just don't know how it's going to turn out.
Exactly. And that's why this whole thing, and in the next show, we'll continue this with the liberation, again, to show all of you how it's done. So again, if people out there of faith can do this, again, this is not exorcism, it's liberation. When I pray over a person, it's for liberation and healing, because the demon is attacking from out. If they're on the inside, which we get a lot of calls saying, "I'm possessed," this one's possessed. Well, first of all, if you're possessed, you wouldn't be calling me. You wouldn't
realize it.
So it's just that people are just not versed. I mean, they're not educated in that. All they've heard about is exorcism, and they don't know there's other forms of demonic influence. So, so we're hoping to, again, do this. We have so much material that we can help people who, all you need to have is one person and an assistant who have real faith. Who want to help. Whether you're in a paranormal group or you can be of assistance to a paranormal group, that you can do this. And we'll help you whatever we can. We can't be all over the country. We can't be at conferences. I mean, I have a full-time job as a pastor. Rob's got a family. Just, my work, and I'm a fire chaplain. Mm-hmm. So, my job doesn't allow me the freedom to do that. So this is the next best thing, is to give people the means to do that.
Yeah, and we do have information available. We have your website, the www.pwsm-ri.org is a very good site, or just plainly email us at pwsm4@yahoo.com, and I'll be more than happy to send out whatever information we have. And if I can't get information, I'll certainly talk to Father Bob, or I'll find it credibly somewhere to send it out so that you at least have valid information on what you're dealing with. Because that's important too. A lot of times you hear about internet information and it's not always credible. I mean, unfortunately, there are so many sites that have opinionated thoughts on stuff, and it's not necessarily credible, and we've seen that too.
Right. And again, it was clear that we come from a Judeo-Christian background in spiritual battle, and refers to the demonic. Again, other faiths have other traditions, and we respect them. I was talking to someone, I said, well, what if you went, what would you do if you went to a Buddhist home? I said, well, I would get a Buddhist priest. Because I can't do their ritual. I'm not their faith. I don't believe what they believe. I come from a Christian background, nor should, or a Wiccan, or whatever. That, you have to be of that faith to have that faith to do that. Just like someone who's Wiccan or somebody who's, from another Buddhist or whatever, would do what their religion tells them, to do that. But we come from a Judeo-Christian background, unabashedly with a Catholic bent. Again, we use the treasure trove of wisdom and all that the Catholic faith has given us about spiritual warfare down through the centuries.
And I think we helped out a Jewish family once with I believe it was a grandfather that had deceased and was staying around. And they had asked, should we get a rabbi to do this? And I think we made out very well in doing the crossing over
because it's Judeo-Christian.
Right.
It's Judeo. I mean, our roots are in Judaism. So, yeah. But, I mean, as far as other, people who practice other religions, I just wouldn't. I want to respect the power of that,
And we've come across a lot of different faiths, and I think we get along good with most people anyway, regardless.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to each their own for the most part, unless it's something that's going to hurt somebody,
And I must say that people of other faiths, or even are not Catholic Christians, but Protestant or whatever, they'll say, do your Catholic ritual. I mean, no atheists and foxholes.
Exactly.
But we do it because, but we do that because it's our faith. So we're going in. I'm not doing something that's not, something that's a part of me. And then we give the prescriptions and the things to do based on their Protestant faith.
Right.
And
that's gone well too. I know I've helped one other case that I did alone, and they weren't Catholic, but they allowed in the ritual that we use, and they followed the instructions. And I think, like you said, is when it's that bad, they're open to anything in order to get it taken care of. And I'm not saying for anybody to switch their faith. I mean, that's not for me to say, but to have faith in general is important.
Yeah, because this is spiritual battle. We can't underline it. This is not just. That's why I changed from the paranormal Warriors of St. Michael, which we used to be, and because we worked with paranormal groups, and it's helped us to gain credibility and to network. But to make that break, because there's a whole different story between paranormal investigation and what we do. Now I call it Praesidium, which comes from the Latin word being a unit in the Roman army. So we follow different rules because the rules change between a human spirit and a demon. We have our own way of going about it. We don't really need to do an investigation. We just go in, and do what we can. We ask questions and all of that, of the homeowner, but we don't need to go through that. But but quite frankly, we get referrals from paranormal groups who have done that. They've gone through. They say, Father, it seems to be something bad. It seems to be something demonic, and then they, would call us in. So, again, but there's a difference between what we do. Right.
And something? This has gone by pretty quick. We're down to the last minute and a half here, so we're going to start wrapping up. We will have another show dealing with spiritual liberation coming up soon.
Yes, we'll go through the ritual itself. And then we have a training video which we'll show again.
Right.
To show you what we do.
Right.
In detail too.
All right. So with that, we're going to say good night for now. And remember to put on the whole armor of God.
With the sword of St. Michael.
Until next time, I'm Rob Jacobs.
And I'm Father Bob Bailey. And we are Confronting the Darkness.
Good night and God bless.